Okay, now the desktop audio is coming through. Yo, yo, yo. Word. All right. Now I can go live. Okay, apologies, everybody. I think y'all can hear me. I think y'all can hear me good. I want to send this tweet out. And then we good, man. This is a town hall, y'all, for the Stadia community. I mean, everybody's welcome to listen and all that good stuff. But we got something brewing within the Stadia community, which I think is a fruitful and a much needed conversation. And whenever we have situations like that, what we're going to do, y'all, is we're going to put them on the forefront. I think it's a good thing for Google to hear this stuff. I think it's good for the community to air it out in a decent manner. With my Fortune 500 experience, I'm going to tell you first and foremost, when you come out there all rah, yeah, shame on you, Stadia. Oh, you die, roaches. When you come up there like that, they automatically hit the delete button. They just consider you a troll. And especially if you're within a position of influence or power within quote unquote said community, they really disregard you because they consider you to be toxic at a level that might spread too fastly if they give you any precedence, or if they give you any acknowledgement. You know what I'm saying? It's setting the precedence, rather, is what I meant to say. It's been like that for 25 plus years in my experience, and it ain't going to change in the future. You know what I mean? Well, social media has been around only for a smaller segment, but even when it comes to comments, radio interviews and stuff like that, that's how a Fortune 500 PR deals with you. So what we want to do is whenever we have situations and discussions like this, we want to do them in decency and order, right? And we want to promote our concerns or questions or praises in a way to Google or Stadia, whomever, in a way that they're willing to absorb, in a way that'll be, more commandeering for them to listen to. And in all likelihood, which will lead furthermore to an outcome that is better for everybody. I mean, you're welcome to come here, say what you got to say, and everybody's welcome. I'm not going to critique your speech as long as you don't go too far off the reservation. Just understand, and again, your opinion is your opinion. Anybody that we have as a speaker that we give a speaking role to, I'm not going to, unless you go too far off, you might have to be brought back to reality. But your opinion is your opinion. You can't be wrong for how you feel. It's just that when you talk absolutists in it, then we might have to make sure that you're corrected for the sake of the unsuspecting listener. Okay. But if you're listening on YouTube and all that other good stuff, let me know how this sounds. Okay. And we want to get things popping and rolling in a little bit. Let me just tweet this out to a couple of places. Let everybody know that we live, because this is a discussion that we think is fruitful. So what you're going to want to do is I'm going to go into like just a minute or two spill just to explain what's happening. After that, I'm going to turn the mic over to the people that are part of this spaces. If you want to be part of the spaces, if you want to be part of the conversation, you got two ways to do that. Way number one is come over here to Stadia Dosage on Twitter, be part of this spaces. And if you want to talk, I'll give you a speaker role. You have to just acknowledge that you would like a speaking role, and we'll do that. Or you can go over to YouTube, go over to Stadia Dosage News on YouTube. Just type in youtube.com/live/Stadia Dosage News. You can join us over there. And anybody that drops a super chat, as you can see up there that we have on the screen, if you drop a super chat, I'll ask anybody that has an active speaking role your question, or I'll answer it myself. Okay. But now that we got everything set up, let's get into it. This is for my people that are watching via YouTube. If you could do us a huge favor, you know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. You know what I'm saying? Make sure to subscribe to the channel and rock those bells for notifications, please. See, if you're not watching on YouTube, you missed the swanky new animations that we got courtesy of my brother Clive Linden. Shout out to him, my advisor, my spiritual advisor, all things Stadia. All right. So we are going to be highlighting the chat. Okay. But again, we will be answering questions that you present via super chat to those that are talking. So I want to we got a request already, which is dope. And we'll definitely turn the mic over to you once I go over this formal introduction. So here's what's going on, y'all. And shout out, look, I got to give my peoples their flowers. They deserve them. Shout out to my brothers, my PNTS Network brothers over at the Revolutionary Storm. They had a hell of a show. And if you missed that show, man, I feel sorry for your mama. This still from Business to Society. I feel sorry for you. If listening to that show makes your experience in being involved now so much better. So I urge you, if you didn't listen to the latest episode of Revolutionary Storm that was aired on Stadia Rev's channel, definitely check it out. Go watch it. Go check out one of our tweets. We tweeted the show out several times. Go listen to that after this. But the discussion since the pro games have been released has been evolving around 60 frames per second. If you've been living under a rock, here's what's going on. Ark, the long-awaited game Ark, came out for Stadia. And it came out in kind of like a miserable state, an abysmal state. You know, it was arguably, I don't even say arguably, I think there's a unanimous decision across the community that this is by far the worst port on the platform. And that doesn't really surprise me or surprise many people that are arguing on my side, and I'll explain my side in a second. We expected Ark to be kind of crappy because it's Ark. And really, Ark doesn't, if you're looking for a game that looks pretty or performs ultra smooth, then you shouldn't be playing Ark on anything but a high-end PC. I have a friend that I work with, and I've been trying to sell him on Stadia because I'm like, bro, Stadia is going to be getting Ark. And what he's been doing, he's in our IT team. So what he does is he gets shipped all over the country. So whenever he goes to a new location, he loves Ark. He can't bring his PC with him. You know what I'm saying? So when he goes to a new location, he goes to a Best Buy. He buys a high-end PC, and he loads Ark on it. He plays it while he's in that location for like 2 to 3 weeks, and he takes the PC back and takes the hit for it being an open item, moves on to the next city, and rinse and repeat. That's how much he loves Ark. So I've been trying to sell him on Stadia. I haven't been in the office for a while. That's a whole nother story. So I haven't seen him in a while, but before I was working satellite, I said, bro, you're going to want to pay attention to the Stadia thing. And he's a PC master race guy. I'll get the hell out of here. I'm not into cloud. But I'm like, bro, this could be the answer to your problems. This whole Stadia thing, Stadia's supposed to be getting Ark. So now you ain't got to do that no more. Now you got to take that hit. Pay for Stadia Pro, $10 a month. You know, I think by him buying the high-end PC and returning it as a return item, an open item, and the reshelving fee, I think was like $50 a city. So he migrates like every 2 to 3 weeks. So that's $100 a month, just about. So you can play it for $10 a month. Anyway, fast forward. So now that we see Ark in this state, he's like, he's probably like, get the hell out of here. But we kind of expected that, because it's poorly optimized. However, it came at a worser state than we expected. However, shout out to Jim for finding those settings that make it a playable experience. I put in the settings that Jim introduced. I had a hell of a time. But you have that game that off the bat, like a lot of people, in order for you to do what Jim did, every game session you have to do that. Now let's be honest. Let's be honest here. and this is subjective to me, but I'll die on this hill. At some point in time, if the developers don't fix this, at some point in time, I think the player base for Ark on Stadia is going to die off. Even with this, with these console settings, nobody's going to want to go in and do it every single time. And you can't copy and paste. You have to physically type this in, these 5 lines of code every single time. At some point in time, something's going to come along where you ain't got to worry about that. And you play it and it's over with and you're done with Ark, right? So hopefully they fix this. But I'm kind of resigned to where the good brother xCloud Gaming is at. It's like, I think they were pushing this to the side and then finally said, to the hell with it. Well, we took the bag. I guess we got to produce something. Here, let's do this. Boop, 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 boop. We ain't going to worry too much about optimization. It is what it is, right? So I think with that, even though people expected that with Ark, they were a little bit more disappointed than what they even expected of what they got. So you got one game that is just an abysmal port, let alone it not being 4K, let alone it not being 60 frames per second, right? Which the 60 frames per second thing, I think a lot of us came to this platform for, the tech enthusiasts. That's why I left my Xbox alone. I left my Xbox alone because I paid $500 for an Xbox One X. I felt like that Microsoft didn't really do enough to make a wide enough margin, and me paying that $500 and me getting an HDR10 TV and all the stuff they told me that I needed to do to make my eyes melt. And here comes Stadia with a $130 console, or later a free $99 console that can do 60 frames per second and is a lot more versatile. So that was the allure to peel a lot of people from console. I get there were a lot of people that were not attached to consoles, but a lot of us were attached to consoles. We already had a system going for us. And then we said, okay, the Stadia thing presents more in the realm of what we want, which is the technology, the technological side, the not only the convenience, but the 60 frames per second. So if you talk to many of us, 60 frames per second was a go. It was a go for me because I was doing more streaming than what I'm doing now. Before I was doing a lot of streaming and stuff like that on Twitch, and me doing it natively was a pain in the rear. When Stadia came along and solved all those problems because it was light on the resources, and I got my 60 frames per second. I stopped gaming at 30 frames per second years ago. And gaming at 60 frames per second and giving up 30 frames per second, when you go back to a 30 frames per second game, I'm telling you, it has an adverse effect on you. Like literally, I get headaches now. My eyes tear up, all that stuff. I'm not making this up. So this is not me trying to be dramatic. I get that 30 frames per second games have been here before, but and also someone before I started working satellite via home, I remember because of my vision isn't the greatest, and I got what do you call those? I got is it the stigmas in both of my eyes. I do. So I don't got bifocals, but I got to wear glasses, or I can't see jack squat. Right. So I had to get a special PC covering for my monitor because I do a lot. I spend 10 to 12 hours in front of a monitor. That can hurt your eyes, whether you got 20/20 vision or not. So because I got that issue with my eyes, I had to get a special monitor that makes it, more durable for me to sit in front of a monitor that long. I remember when my PC had issues and I went to another cubicle because I had to get something done by a deadline. Me going to a regular monitor after having that enhanced monitor hurt my eyes. So those that are arguing, oh, stop whining, stop complaining, going back to 30 frames per second means nothing. I'm here to tell you that's bullpucky. For those of you that haven't dealt with that, I'm not saying that 30 frames per second is a problem for y'all. No, I'm not saying that. But again, to be dismissive of those that have upgraded to 60 frames per second, do that most of the time, and then have to deal with a downgraded 30 frames per second, and they can make complaints like that, like physical, actual complaints. They're not lying. Whenever your eyes, when it comes to a monitor, have to deal with downgrades, it has an adverse effect. Right? Now I get also too, and why I want to give my flowers to Stadia Rev and my homie Project Storm. They had a hell of a conversation, and I'm about to turn this over to you guys for those that want to have a speaking role. I think they better help frame the conversation for those of us that are concerned about the state of 60 frames per second options for games coming to Stadia. Again, and talking to people and doing polls and all that other stuff, I get that there is a swath of gamers, and that swath is even growing because a lot of gamers that are now attaching themselves to this platform don't care about 60, but there's also a large chunk that do care about 60, that have been here since the beginning, right? And our argument for those of us that care about 60, our argument is not only 60 frames per second matter. If you want to be realistic, most gamers don't play in 60 frames per second. They play in 30, right? So that's not our argument. Our argument is a situation where 60 frames per second isn't an option is trash. Let me give you an example. Let's take God of War. A lot of people would say the greatest game that came out last generation, console generation, right? Can you imagine if God of War, you got a brand new TV with HDMI settings and stuff like that, and you wanted to calibrate the color settings? What if God of War had no color settings? And what if the default settings were super extra dark and you really couldn't see detail? And Santa Monica just left you with the detail, that as the default detail, and you couldn't change it. A lot of us can change button configurations. Imagine a game where you can't change the button configuration. You know what I'm saying? And so forth and so forth. What if, imagine games that don't have colorblind mode for some people that have that need, or any other special needs things that are now coming standard in games. What if you couldn't switch? What if God of War had the axis inverted and you couldn't switch that? Now, does God of War is the root of the game? Is it trash? No, it's a great game. But the lack of those options in 2021 makes the situation bad. It makes it bad because it's lacking the options that are common for what the demographic expect. And I think 60 frames per second for the Stadia demographic is a lot more important than maybe other platforms or a lot of people may think. So it's not that a game is great because it's 60 frames per second or a game is trash because it isn't. The lack of that option is trash. Because a lot of people, like myself, who have problems gaming at 30, said, oh, this Stadia thing gives me that option, or they make 60 frames per second a standard for an overwhelming majority of its titles. Maybe not all, that's fine. I remember at launch, Final Fantasy 15 wasn't 30, and that's whatever, fine. But they're making it a standard, and it's cheap. And our concern is pivoting too far from that standard. In our eyes, no pun intended, in our eyes, again, it's like removing the ability to remap buttons, removing the ability to adjust your contrast, stuff like that. It really dampers the experience for a lot of us who are used to being able to do that. So hopefully that better explains our argument, but I've done enough babbling. Let's get the community's thoughts on this. And again, if you're watching this via YouTube, I appreciate all of you. If you have a question for me, or if you have a question for anybody that speaks, feel free to hit that super chat button below and let us know. But hold on, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, guys. Sorry about that. Okay. So I see we got people that want to talk. You have to bear with me because I hate that this thing is limited to your phone. Boom, 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 boom. Requested. Okay, one person requested. We got Ben Tom in the house. So Ben, I'm gonna turn the mic over to you. Ben, can you hear me, good brother?
So can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. I can hear you, and I think everybody else can hear you. What are your thoughts on this whole 60 frames per second thing, man?
So my thoughts is that there need to be an option
Mm-hmm.
of FPS, because I know many people who will now like play 60 FPS and cannot go back to like 30.
Yes.
And for them, they basically they said if there's no game that does not give option, they're not going to even buy it anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
So my thought is, Stadia can handle 60 FPS if it is well optimized.
Yeah.
So that's my option take. And also one more benefit from 60 FPS is that latency will be reduced even more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my take. Like there's a game called Judgment on Stadia. You played it?
Yep. So I love it.
That has 60 FPS option. So if you play it, it's even smoother than whatever it was on PS4. Yeah, when it was on PS4, it is basically equal to next gen on PS5 and Series X now.
Yes. Yep.
So that's my take.
So Ben, let me ask you this question. Let me just play devil's advocate because I'm with you 1,000%. But again, I want to represent everybody. What do you think about the people that say, well, look, Stadia is in a position to where we're the redheaded stepchild. Developers really don't want to make games for us. So they really don't want to make too many waves because developers might leave. So, and I kind of believe that. I get where they're coming from with that. So what do you think Stadia could do? Or what would you like to see Stadia can do? Whether it's doable or not, let's let them know. What would you like to see Stadia to do to try to influence developers to at least have some type of 60 frames per second standard?
Well, my thing is, since right now Stadia is like growing, right? But not the level of like, let's say, Xbox or PlayStation. So right now, Google can maybe like give money. That's my take. Give money to make them 60, so that more people buy games of Stadia. And once it grows, then developer will do themselves.
Yeah.
So that's my take, because like as an example, let's say Xbox, I believe recently like spent that Tomb Raider 100 million something, right, for the Tomb Raider game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I think that was unsuccessful for them, even though they were a big platform. So my guess is even I don't think Stadia doesn't even need to pay that much for developers to add 60 FPS. Not even close. So I think right now Google need to basically pay for it, but later once they grow, developer themselves will do it. Like on PS5 right now, every game as far as I know, there's an option for 60 FPS. Also in Xbox, PC there's already there. So I think Stadia can also do it. So that's my take. Google pay for that. Then once the platform grows, developers will do it themselves. Okay, I think that's it. Hello? Hello? I think I'm done.
The spaces is ended. Okay. Let me retweet it. Let me refresh. Okay, join the space. All right. Hopefully, can y'all hear me? Okay, now y'all can hear me. Good. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, now we are back. Jesus. Okay. We are back. We had a good following too. Sorry about that, y'all. We are back. Tweet it out. What do you mean start my space? What's going on? Yo, hello? What is going on here? Oh, crap. What is going on here, man? Come on. This ain't working, y'all. Okay. Hold on. Let me try this one more time. Jesus. One more time. Spaces is 60 FPS. Overrated. Okay, start your space. Unmute my mic. Okay, y'all should be able to hear me. Let's refresh this page. Let's join. We're joining this space. Okay, now we're in. I'm not even going to mess with tweeting it out. Okay, but we had a good point that was made by Ben. Ben made a great point. Ben asked, "Hey, look, I want to see Stadia throw more money at this." You know what I mean? And I totally dig where he's coming from. Let me do this. Let me try to bring it back up. Let me do this. Let me try to bring it back up. Sorry about that, y'all. Kicked me out of that space. Sorry about that, y'all. Kicked me out of that space. Let me put myself in here and see if I can tweet this out. Let me put myself in here and see if I can tweet this out. Share via. You're trying to tell me you don't have a. You're trying to tell me you don't have a option to tweet this. Okay, there we go. All right. Tweet this. Okay, there we go. All right. We are back live. We are back live. Let's do this. Sorry about that, y'all. Okay, now y'all should be able to hear. Sorry about that, y'all. Okay, now y'all should be able to hear. So it was a great point that Ben brought up. It was a great point that Ben brought up. The point was, can Stadia, like, we get it. Can Stadia, like, we get it. Yo, Project Storm in the house. Yo, Project Storm in the house. Spaces, bro. Hey, Storm, hop in the spaces, I gotta hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts on this. I gotta hear from you. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Especially for those that did not hear what you had to say on Revolutionary Storm. What you had to say on Revolutionary Storm. Hop in here, Storm. Since I got a weird echo now. Is that for everybody? Is that for everybody? Oh, this has got an echo now. Oh, this has got an echo now. Oh, man. Hold on, let me see something. Oh, man. Hold on, let me see something. Now I'm gonna turn it on and see if there's an echo. Now I'm gonna turn it on and see if there's an echo. Yo. They trying to shut us down, man. They trying to shut us down, conversation. They trying to shut us down. Conversation. Okay. Oh yeah. It is an echo. Hold on. Oh man, hold on. It is. Golly, hold on 1 second. Give me one moment. Leave. Okay. All right. Let me try it now. Let me see if I can. Okay. Let me get back in now. Join this space. Oh, hold on. I think I know what's going on. Okay. Let me see if I can. Okay. Let me get back in now. All right. All right. Let me try. Let me look at some more things. Okay. I think we good now. All right, y'all. So here's the deal. Brandon brought up a good point. That's better. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it, y'all. So Brandon brought up a good point where he said he thinks Stadia should be putting some money on the wood. That's better. Okay. He said he thinks Stadia should be putting some money on the wood. Let me know what y'all think about that. Because here's the dynamic. And again, if you want to speak, Brandon broke our mics. Brandon broke the mic. But if you want to speak, just let us know. We'll definitely pull you in. But I think he was spot on with some stuff. Because here's the dynamic, though. And y'all know I love the platform. I'm not one of those people that say, "Oh, Stadia is in trouble." That's bullpucky. All these platforms are young. They're new. When we look, I do a show with my good brother Jack. And we're holding it off till next Sunday. As a matter of fact, I know normally we do the first Sunday, but I do a show with my brother Jack Deslip where we comb over statistics, extrapolation of data. Where he does all the hard work, and he says, "Hey, look, MM2K, this is what it is." We're combing over so much data. We see nothing but growth on the Stadia side. I'll let you guys know last year that Stadia had went up 1,000% at one point in time when the belief was that they haven't even crossed the million user threshold. When people were saying that, I just was quiet. I didn't say anything. And I shortchanged it. It actually went up 1,700%. I can say it now because the same data extrapolation methods that were used to pull that data from groups like Sensor Tower and such are the same methods that Jack is doing. Jack is a master at this. We see nothing but growth. We may see flatting, I don't want to say a flat lining, but that growth may flat out here and there, whatever, you know what I'm saying? However, but to say that the platform is in trouble, this is a 1% business. If you have a 1% business, there's only so much you're going to throw into it at one point in time. That's why we only see the minimalistic effort across the board. As far as it comes to Stadia and its games and GFN and its performance and whatever Luna's doing and xCloud really making that Xbox server blade shine, right? So none of this right here is that canoe talk. However, it raises flags and it's a concern and it's something that we need to talk about in decency and order. What do I mean by that? I mean that a good chunk of your people that came to this platform came based off the fact, like Brandon said earlier when he was speaking, that they can't play 30 frames per second games. I gave an example earlier where I fit into that category, right? So I get that there's a bunch of new people that that dynamic is not a problem for them at all, and that's fine. But there is a chunk of your demographic where it is. Every time I poll people, every time I talk to people, more often than not, the 60 frames per second standard, as far as it being an option, is something that concerns people. So even though we know, come on, I think Stadia, if they could have it their way, every game would be 4K 60, whether it's an upscaled 4K or whatever. If they had it their way, that's what they want. But that takes effort from developers. We sat and talked to Topher a couple of days ago. My homie John Scar talked to developers. The development process has gotten better to where we would expect to see the opposite. We would expect to see more games include 60 frames per second. We really would expect more games to be 4K 60. We're starting to see a trend that's opposite of that. And so we know, we get it. Stadia, it's not Stadia saying, oh, we don't care the state that you put the games in here. Just slop it on it. We know that. Common sense tells you that. However, regardless if it's their intent or not, just by connection, it's something that affects the allure to the platform. So the question that I posed to Brandon, which I think is an understandable response, is what do you do? What should Stadia do? Even though we know this is not what they want, but what should they do? And what Brandon suggested was, hey, why don't Stadia Storm, what you got to do, bro, is on your phone. You can only get into the spaces via your phone. Project Storm is asking via the YouTube channel. You got to go to Twitter. You got to hit the plus when you go to Twitter on your phone, and then look for spaces and hit spaces up top. Maybe Stadia should throw some more money as an incentive. Now, money's not going to be the answer to everything. I think what Stadia may want to do is, I'm just curious on what the techs are doing. What are the technicians doing? Like, we know they've deployed more techs. Are these techs that specialize or helping people say, look, it's great that you got the game to this point. Let us help you get it to 60. I say that to go back, and again, I know I'm making this sound easier than what it is, but I take it back to my good brother, David Jaffe. Shout out to David Jaffe. We've had David on the show on a lot of our Broadband Bullies content. And if you don't know who David Jaffe is, he's the creator of God of War. He even did a show with Z. He did a one-on-one. And shout out to my bros, the Broadband Bullies. I know we had a situation a few weeks back to where they had a very controversial stint with the community. And I wasn't even aware that things were going to go left like that. I rapped to my brothers behind the scenes and said, hey, yo, what the hell is this? And they acknowledged, like, yeah, this went a little too far left, where they became the ire of the community. But those are my bros. I love them. Without them, there would be no MM2K. There would be no Stadia Dosage. So shout out to them. And shout out to my brother Post Up. I see my homie Cold Blood Sensei in the house. So this should make Cold Blood Sensei happy. My brother Post Up is now at 1,000 subs. So if you're an Xbox gamer, if you love Xbox, check out my bro Post Up on YouTube and on Twitter. But nonetheless, shout out to them. Shout out to my bros. But yeah, he used to do shows with us. He's did a couple shows with us. He did a show with Z that they did regularly. It was a one-on-one show that they did kind of in the same vein as SML. And the reason why I brought that up is because David Jaffe. Hold on one second, y'all. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. My apologies. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. The life of a husband. All right. David Jaffe brought up that when Sony saw that you were having a problem with the game and you were a third party or second party developer, they immediately deployed people like to wherever you were at. He said you could be sitting in a box with cow dung hanging from the sides. Like you're going to have PlayStation people deployed to you to be like, hey, thank you for what you've presented. However, can we get you to do a little bit more? Can we get 60 frames per second out of this? What can our people do to get that from you? And I get that it's early in the game. And again, I'm not saying that Stadia isn't doing this. I'm not saying that they are because I'm not there in the boardrooms. I'm not there with the techs. But if they aren't, here's my argument for why they should. I get it's a 1% business. I get that the theory is, hey, look, things may fall short here and there. Our expectancy is we're going to come back a few years from now and we're going to like it even better a few years from now, and all this stuff will be forgotten. And that may be true. That may be true. But in the event where that's not entirely true, you don't want to lose your core demographic. You may get people outside of your core demographic that may be introduced to this game, to this platform, and they may like it or they may not like it. That's attrition you're not too much worried about. Those are the people that'll come back later. But of your core demographic, you want to get them, you want to solidify them in place, and you want to build from there. And I just think that a 60 frames per second standard, again, we get it's not going to be there for every game. I just think it's too important in the long term, even early on, to pivot from that. So I'm throwing that out there as in, hey, look, if this isn't something that you're doing now, maybe take from my brother, crazy ass David Jaffe, who said Sony, again, with certain games, deployed people to where you were at and said, look, we appreciate what you've offered. However, this game is important to us. Shout out Ron Slusher. Ron, come in on the Twitter Spaces, bro. We got to hear from you. But people would say, hey, look, we appreciate what you're doing, but this game is important to us. Like, we gotta, as far as we're concerned, we gotta push this over this line. What can we do? Now, granted, Stadia is not Sony. Sony has more bargaining chips to where they can walk into your box with cow dung all over it, and they're going to have a more successful turnaround with that type of interaction than Stadia would. But my comment is, if that's not happening now, I get that it's early. I get it's a 1% business. But before too many of your core demographic from the offset may corrode, this might be something that you want to look into. And I know Google, they're a lot smarter than I. They're probably looking at data, and they're probably looking at data where they say, you know what, 60 frames per second may not be too important to people right now. We're seeing a lot of people playing 4K 30 and not worried about 60 frames per second. Yeah, I think that it's tolerable now, but I think the downfall from the vocal minority, again, I think it's going to chip away and erode at a pillar of what makes this platform so great, which is the enhanced tech side of it. Being able to get some great 60 frames per second gameplay, whether I'm on my phone or whatever, I feel is a pillar of what the platform offers. It's brought a lot of people over. And like Brandon said, a lot of people who got out of gaming. People get out of gaming for multiple reasons. They got out of it because of the cost. They got out of it because of the convenience. And they got out of it possibly because of the whole sheer physical limitations of it. My eyes cannot take 30 frames per second anymore. But I can't build a killer PC. I'm just done. Because consoles right now are locked pretty much to 30 frames per second. I just bought an Xbox One X and they promised me uncompromised 4K 60 and I didn't get that. I'm done. Ooh, the Stadia thing is here. Oh, I love this. I'm back. I think that's too intricate of a core demographic to overlook. Now, I could be saying all this and everything that I'm suggesting they could be doing and some, but I'm floating it out there. I'm not ignorant to that. So I don't want to say what Stadia needs to do. I'm not going to say it like that because they could be doing it and we're just not aware. But what I will say is if they're not doing it, I think it's very important for them to take a second look and possibly entertain that notion. All right. So with that said, again, if anybody else wants to speak, please hit that speaker roll. Let us know if you want to join in. If you want to join in the conversation, let me know your thoughts. So I don't just sit here and babble the entire time. Or if you're the way that these Twitter spaces are going to work is if you're watching this live. Let me do this again because I want to show off. Thanks to my brother Clavy Linden. Hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. And also rock those bells for notifications, please. If you're watching this via YouTube. Now, if you are watching this live via YouTube, here's what you're going to want to do. If you're stuck to YouTube, you don't want to call in, but you want to participate in the answer and question session of this Spaces. Drop us a super chat. We'll take your comment and we'll pose it either to myself or whoever's speaking at the time. But if anybody wants to take a speaking role, let us know. Let us know right now. And if you want to take a speaking role, come on over to Twitter. Go to Twitter. Now, you got to do this on your phone. And don't worry if you don't want to be on camera. Don't worry about it because it's not going to do anything to you. It's not going to put you on camera. It's all voice activated. What you do is you go over to Twitter. You go over to Stadia Dosage. Around the avatar, you'll see like a purple ring. Just hit that purple ring so you can join the spaces. And then once you're in the spaces, just ask for a speaking role. We got my bro LaVon Cason in the house. I don't normally call people out as they come in. I'll let you come in at ease. LaVon, if you want a speaking role, if you got thoughts on this, because LaVon is one of the individuals that I spoke of recently where they were down on Stadia. They were like, oh, this is trash. MM2K, why are you doing this? Come back home, as my bros say over there. Come back home and talk about RDNA 3 and why Horizon Zero Dawn is $80. I don't, whatever. And then I gave them the link to Stadia. And they actually was like, yo, this is a little groovy. So I think my brother LaVon wants to get on right now. Is this LaVon? Yep. LaVon. You are live, LaVon. LaVon, what's going on, bro? How you doing, man? Yeah, I can hear you, bro. You're doing great, man. So I don't know if you caught wind of any of the stuff I was babbling. Well, first and foremost, before we get into that, and I want you to be straightforward and honest, man.
Okay.
Talk about your experience with Stadia so far, what your thoughts are. You were a naysayer.
I was.
Go ahead, speak. I'm gonna turn the mic over to you, brother. Go ahead.
Stadia, it actually works. Believe it or not, like it really legit feels like a console experience without having a console. But my problem is, it's the third-party support.
Yeah,
that's my main problem with it.
Gotcha.
And is it truly a next generation experience? Like I don't know. Like, do you know anything about that, or where does it lean? Is it in the middle? Is it last gen? Like, what is it?
I would say it's a 8th generation platform that has its own version of 9th generation features. Like, it's kind of like in a position that the Wii's in, right?
Okay.
So where it kind of kicked off the 9th generation early, in a sense, because of the fast loading, the no downloads and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
However, the platforms that came after it, they have more offerings in those regards. And they knew that. That's why the people that are at Stadia, as I was trying to tell you, brothers, the people at Stadia even knew that. They said, hey, look, these are the earlier years. We're just trying to get people to play the platform, feed us data so we can make enhancements. A lot of people like you, Levon, are going to come to this platform, try it out, be like, no, that's not for me, and come back years later when all those enhancements are there. So it's kind of in between, like how the Switch is. The Switch will start off kicking off some things, then the next generation of the PlayStation and the Xbox will come and it'll override that, and then it's just rinse and repeat. But ray tracing is coming. We've heard now when we don't know, but we've heard conversations from devs like
isn't FIFA getting like a next generation version on the Stadia?
Yes, okay. They're getting a next generation version as far as features are concerned, like in-game features. Now, if you're talking about ray tracing or some of that, that's not like a game with ray tracing features has not been released yet on the platform. However, there's software-based ray tracing that's supposed to be coming from a group called Chronos.
Okay.
So there's a lot to research about the platform. This is not the final version of Stadia by far. There's a lot more enhancements coming down the pipe.
Okay.
So with that said, brother, okay. So you've acknowledged that at first there was doubts that you weren't sure if it worked, and now you know that it does work. You still got some ifs about the third-party support, which even the most diehard people, have those concerns. But let me ask you about the 60 frames per second thing. How important is it? Well, I mean, if you were to add Stadia permanently to your portfolio, not meaning it's going to be the main way that you play, but it's a way that you play on a regular basis. In order for you to add Stadia to your portfolio, do you think that 60 frames per second options in games is important?
What, having a performance mode option? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm used to it now with the One X, the Series S, the Series X. I mean, I'm used to having those options on the system. So, yeah, of course, it would be nice to have, more 60 frames per second options in Stadia games, of course. Yeah.
Now, a lot of us, Levon, we were sold on the 60 frames per second. And to be fair to Stadia, they never came out and said all games will be 60 frames per second.
Whoa, wait, did you play Darksiders 2? I mean, that game was made with 30 frames per second. That game was made with 30 frames per second. So
that's where this debate really, like, because we got we got Arc, right? And Arc is crappy everywhere, right?
Yeah, of course.
But we kind of expected that. But the month, the Stadia Pro games, the month that they put Arc out there, they also put Darksiders 2 out there, which is an older game. I know they enhanced it, but it's an older game. So
it is an older game, but it was already 30 frames per second before. They just ported that version. That's what I'm assuming.
Yeah. I get you. So in your mind, it lacking in 60 frames per second mode, it doesn't matter because they just enhanced it and they never made a 60 frames per second mode. So that's all right in your book.
Well, I mean, they probably had it done before, they just ported the PS4 version of Darkseid or whatever version and just, waited the right time. That's what I'm thinking.
And that could be the case. I mean, let us know in the chat, because we got people watching via YouTube and anybody else that may want to speak. Let us know. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, that's a very good point. It could be just the limitations of the port. I just think, this is my thoughts, Levon.
Okay.
We're having a situation in the community where, and I don't subscribe to all this, we're having a situation in the community where the Stadia, some parts of the Stadia community are concerned with the games coming in the future, right?
Like, what do you mean by games? Next-gen games? Just
or
games in general?
Just games like Battlefield. Battlefield hasn't been announced.
Call of Duty hasn't been on there. GTA.
Yeah. And I mean, Call of Duty and GTA, Levon, I think we've gotten used to, like, they'll come when they come in Fortnite. But it was like, it's like the games that were announced this year. Battlefield isn't coming. Dying Light 2 or I don't want to say it isn't coming, but Battlefield hasn't been announced. Dying Light 2 hasn't been announced, right? Mm-hmm. These are bigger games that are going to close off the platform. We've still got a lot of good games coming, but people want to see those games as well. And so then it's like, okay, those games may not be coming this year or they haven't been announced. That's fine. We still got art coming. We got these other games coming, and we get to play them on the go with the trademark 60 frames per second that Stadia has with most of its games. And its big marquee games for Stadia Pro this month, Darksiders and Ark, both don't have 60 frames per second mode. So it's concerning people. Do you think that's a legitimate concern for the community, or it just is what it is this month?
I mean, if it's supposed to be more powerful than a 1X, the Stadia, I guess, servers has like 10.7 teraflops. So yeah, I would be concerned, of course.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Beyond the whole 60 frames per second thing, Levon, because you're dropping jewels today, brother. I'm giving you your flyers. All right, tell him I said in the Discord to leave you the hell alone. You're dropping jewels today. Look, let me ask you a question, bro. Before I let you go, what does Stadia have to do? And don't hold back, because the reason why we have these is because we want the people at Google to hear this, and we're going to give them a constructive way. Okay. What does Stadia have to do to pull in Levon? What do they got to do?
What, full time?
I mean, even if it's not your main way to play, but to get you to play on it regularly, because you play different platforms. So what do we got to do?
I've been playing Xbox lately. I'm not gonna lie. I've been playing a lot of Xbox.
Got you. What does Stadia got to do in order to get you playing that too?
Have more next gen ports, or at least have the versions of these cross-gen games or whatever be more on par with the Series S versions at least. Have more, maybe a little bit of more Sega support, like Sonic the Hedgehog and things of that nature. And just, I would want to say this, but Google needs to get back in making first-party software. Like, I think that them abandoning the platform was a bad idea. I'm gonna just be real with you right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The people on YouTube said, on Twitter, I can't hear him. They can't hear you on Twitter. They should be able to hear you. I'm saying, and yeah, I left Twitter because of it. Oh, that's weird. Your Spaces is cutting up today. Maybe try to hop back on y'all, see if y'all can hear him, because I'm hearing him fine. All right. Well, Levon, hey bro, I want to thank you so much for them thoughts, man.
Yeah.
It's important for you, I'm gonna say YouTube. It's important for Google to hear this.
Yeah, of course.
And we're giving this construct thoughts in a decent way, man. And I really appreciate you. And again, man, thank you for your support, bro. And let people know where they can catch your channel at, man. Let people know where your
channel is called The Real Levon Kaysen. That's what my channel is called, where you will be expecting, gaming videos, gaming commentary videos, some tech videos, tech reviews such as, budget phones and tablets, things of that nature.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, brother. Well, thank you so much, Lavon. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. No problem.
Have a great day, man.
You too.
All right. Thank you, Lavon. Shout out to Lavon. Anybody else want a speaking role? I don't know why people couldn't hear Lavon. That was weird. Let me check these settings real quick. Adjust settings. View captions. This will allow you to see the captions that have been shared by other people. Excuse me. Let me see. What else do we have here? What other options do we have? Adjust settings. Sound effects, view caption. I don't need that here. Okay. I don't know what's wrong. All right. Anybody else have any thoughts, or anybody in the YouTube, people that are watching us through YouTube, again, we're gonna show off again, man. Hit that like button. Make sure that you subscribe. All right. And also rock those bells for notifications, please. So you know when we're doing stuff like this for the community. All right. Anybody up next? Anybody up that want to talk next? Let us know. If you have any questions for us in the chat, because we're gonna go down in like 10 minutes. I gotta do some stuff with the wife starting 2:30. I promised her, so y'all wouldn't hear me get beat up on the phone. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to comment on this whole 60 frames per second thing, is 60 frames per second overrated on Stadia? Definitely let us know. I'm gonna tweet this out again just so everybody share a tweet. Okay. Tweet. All right. So let's talk about it, y'all. Again, 60 frames per second on Stadia. It was a huge selling point for many gamers. Great conversation with Lavon, man. Definitely check my bro out. I really like what he had to say. Get me in. I hit the request button. See, I can't see it, Storm. Hold on, let me take a look. It's gone because you left. You got to come back, Storm. Come back. You got to come back to Twitter and hit the request button. Once you leave the spaces, and your request to speak disappear. So if anybody want to speak, definitely let me know. We deeply apologize for the technical difficulties. Our first Twitter spaces went off without a hitch. This one, but again, this is in beta form, so I'm not mad at Google. I'm mad at Twitter. But again, for those that are not familiar with what's going on, I'm in here. I don't see you, Storm. I don't see you in the Twitter spaces. Yeah, I don't see you there at all. I don't see you at all. I see, yeah. Make sure that you're hitting the icon, bro. You're going to Stadia Dosage. You're hitting the icon. But I just sent a tweet about it too. So if you go to MM2K, Storm in here on YouTube now. No, I mean he has to come over from Twitter to smash the like button. I'm just reading the comments. Yeah, what you guys want to do is, if you want to get in on this, you're just listening to our activity on Twitter. In order for you to get a speaking role, you got to go on Twitter on your phone. You got to go to Twitter on your phone. Hit the avatar, the Stadia Dosage avatar. Go to Stadia Dosage on Twitter via your phone. Then you got to hit the avatar and then you click the button to be granted a speaking role. You get added into the room, and you got to click the button for a speaker. I said, I'm in Twitter, and I see Calvin Morgan in here. Let me see if Calvin Morgan. Nah, Calvin Morgan ain't in this one. Okay, somebody requested. All right, there we go. Project Storm's in the house. Now we got you, Storm. Golly, brother, what the heck? No, I'm just messing with you. What's up, Storm? What's going on, baby? Uh-oh. Storm. Is you muted? Storm. What happened to Storm? You was just in here, bro. Oh, hold on. You're muted. You got to unmute yourself, bro. You're muted right now. You got to unmute yourself. Your mic should be on. It says mic. It'll say mic is off. Mic is on the lower bottom half. Go and unmute yourself, brother. This is going to be a great one because Storm is hopping in here. As soon as you unmute yourself, brother, we can. This is now you're a listener. Okay, so you hopped out. Here, let me send you. Let me do this. I'm gonna invite you to co-host. Send co-host invite. I invited you to co-host. So via your phone, go ahead and hop in. You might as well just hop in, bro. Now you're a co-host of this. We just need Project Storm to accept. Okay. It's now a co-host. So, bro, turn your mic on.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you, brother.
All right. Hey, it's my first time, man. I had to get used to the spaces, man. Like, man, I was in like 5 or 6 different ones, bro, trying to figure it all out.
What's going on, brother?
Hey, this is cool, first of all, man, but I think people are going to have a hard time, like I did, trying to get everything together, man. But I'm chilling over here, man, listening to the spaces and all that. And I think it was a good talk, man. Shout out to Levon for dropping those jewels, because this is why we have these discussions, MM2K, man. And this is why Rev and I had a conversation about it today, because whether you want to hear it or not, there's still a lot of gamers out here that have these thoughts about the platform and gaming on Stadia in the first place. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, what can it offer me as a new gamer to intrigue me enough to make me want to come over there? It's that simple, man. Like, we complain, like, just to get right into it, because I know you got limited time, but some of us complain about not having the user base that we want to see. And that it all comes down to things like what Levon's talking about, what you're talking about, what I'm talking about. You know, it's like you got to focus more heavily on that performance narrative, because it did bring in gamers like me, you, and others, you know?
Yep.
So, and we know overall the platform is dope. We know that, man. But again, word of mouth is everything. We're trying to tell people how dope it is, but they're like, okay, but I'm seeing games running at 30 FPS, and I see Outriders. I saw that Fiasco. I see Ark. I saw, other games out here. I mean, I know it's not a Stadia thing. We all understand that here in this community, man. It's not a Stadia specific thing. But my question to you and everybody else is, at what point, like, what role does Stadia have in this? Like, can they reach out and talk to these developers? Like, look, man, the platform is capable. Is there a certain timeline that we can probably agree on to get the game better optimized? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And that's why I've said before. Now, you'll hear this argument, Storm, to where, and I get it, but we got to be realistic when it comes to this stuff, right? And that's why I love that interview that we had with Topher. Like, I really urge people, see, I don't sit here and just make this stuff up. Like, this comes from a place either from experience or from people that have the know-how. So I talk to the devs about this. I talk to the execs about this. I don't just make this stuff up and go, blah, 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 blah. That serves nobody doing that. I get that we may have opinions, but let's submit our opinions with facts, right? That's what I like to do. So I go to the dev, who is Topher, you know what I mean? And I'm talking to Topher about this. And Topher says, yeah, look, there are some people, there are some devs that got long-reaching relationships with other platforms and are purposefully doing this. And that really ties Stadia's hand. You know what I'm saying? And we get that. But what I'm hoping is that the thought process isn't, and I'm not saying that it is, I'm just saying, I'm hoping that the thought process isn't, well, we're doing the best that we can. Like we've exhausted all of our resources, so we're done with it. Like, I hope that the execs that are making the big bucks aren't thinking like that. You got to keep thinking. You got to keep thinking. Like, your consumers want results, and we get it. It's not fair that we're not, that developers are grabbing the bag and running off. Like, I'm with Sunny Cloud Gaming. I don't know if you saw Sunny's live stream yesterday, but Sunny was like, "Yo, I think," and again, he's going off his opinion. I think what happened is that they held off the port to Stadia, and then they finally got some pressure. It was like, yeah, we did take the money. Okay, here you go, BAP. We ain't optimizing this, BAP. You know what I mean? However, Storm, here's my thoughts. Even if that is the case, I go back to, like I said, our conversations with David Jaffe, where David was like, yo, the people at PlayStation will be like, yo, they don't care if you're developing this in a cardboard box with cow dung hanging from the sides. They showing up at your box. They're like, yo, we get it. We like what you provided so far. However, this game is important to us because we think it's a quality game. It's important to us. Can we get a little bit more out of this? What can we do? Even if we got to take 90% of the backload, you just point us to the doors that you need us at. But what do we do to get this maybe 60 frames per second or get this better? And I'm not saying Stadia hasn't done that, but if they haven't, I think that it might be worth their while to consider it. What are your thoughts?
Feedback, man. We know that they are in tune with the community and all that stuff, and they should know the ones who are not trying to pressure them into anything, but it's to take all of our thoughts into consideration, because some gamers, man, realistically are gonna see their options. Again, Levon speaking earlier, I was just like, bingo. That's what it's about. If it's like that for one, it could potentially be that way for 1,000 to 1,000,000, Yeah. So I was just saying earlier, MM2K, if the goal is to ultimately get to 1 billion for all these gaming companies or whatever, the big ones that's out here doing this. Yeah. If their goal is to get to 1 billion users, man, you're going to want to try to retain everybody, pretty much the largest part of that audience as you can. You're going to want to try to retain them. However you do that is up to them. But I don't know, man. I agree with everything you're saying right here. I agree with this whole thing, the Twitter space in the first place. I like these free flowing conversations, bro. So I'm going to be joining all of them because we ultimately want to see this get better before it gets worse. Yeah. Because something janky is going on, bro. Something janky is going on. It's not hard to tell. We've seen the communication breakdowns. We've seen the poor quality ports or whatever. These are ports. These are not games from the ground up. As Levon kind of implied on earlier, man, like when he mentioned his thoughts on SG&E, so many people I know mention that. So if you don't have the first party games, your emphasis should be, and I appreciate it because I like third party right now. I think third party is more important than exclusivity as far as sales and bringing more gamers into the gaming industry itself, so indies as well. So these are just my thoughts, man. And I'm always going to open up and share those thoughts. I'm not going to sit behind the table like, I want to say something, but better than not. Because these are the opportune times to do that, MM2K. So shout out to you and everybody else that's listening. I see all the listeners right here. This is dope, man, because I've been asking for something. Remember when I asked for something like this, man? How can we connect? And then bang, Twitter Spaces. Here we go, y'all.
Yeah, definitely. I want to give you and Rev y'all roses right now, man. Hell of a show, bro. Hell of a show. And when y'all hit on that 60 frames per second thing, man, it sent chills down my spine, man. Even though I'm more in line with your thoughts about it, I like what Rev was saying. Rev was like, we're making it seem like that a game is trash if it's not 60, or a game is great just because it's not 60. Can you re-elaborate on that? I mean, again, for people to get that full dosage, they're going to have to check out the show. But can you re-elaborate on that? Why that's not our argument? Our argument is different from that.
Yeah, it's absolutely different. And I did I think, and Rev got it by the end of the day. And he, first of all, he put things in a way that made me look at it from a different angle from 5,000 feet, as you would say, man. Shout out to Rev for doing that in the first place. This is why we do these debates, man. The brotherhood is always going to be real. You know, we got listeners and viewers who chime in as well. Hey, Moss. Before I get into my thoughts, I see why you opened up the platform, bro. That's what I was thinking about doing the show. I see why you tried to make Stadia Dosage News more welcoming than not, bro. Because the more people in this, the better the discussion. You know what I'm saying? The bigger our cause, bro. And that's what it's ultimately about. So what Red was saying that he kind of, and I want to paraphrase here because I can't quote him, but he was saying that he felt targeted, that some people are out there, and we know those people that call you a peasant because you're gaming at 720p. I'm guilty of it at times, but it's in all trash talking when I do it, man. It's all about trash talking. So it's like, if Levon or Dev or Andy Morse or Nature Boy in the chat, if they were talking trash to me like, Storm, man, you gaming in 8K, but you only have surround sound, something like that, is all fun and games. It's trash talking, right? That's just a good thing to do. It's good for the soul in moderation, right? But if you're out here like, yo, hey, Rev is a trash gamer because he's gaming at 30. No wonder Rev can't game and stuff like that. No wonder he sucks. That's something totally different. But that's not what you and I are trying to do. And the people out here, like, shout out to MJ Parks, you know what I'm saying? Myself and them over there, Code of Stadia. Shout out to Inled and others who stood up for the cause when it comes to 60 FPS, because, man, the way I feel is that it's not about beating people over the head. It's about making our experiences better. Yeah. You know what I mean? Evolving our gaming to the next level, man. I don't really want to stay in the 1980s, man. I don't want to be in the 90s or the 2000s. I got to stay in the 2000s for now, but you get my point, right?
Exactly.
I want to see what gaming can evolve to, and 30 FPS performance in certain games and low textures and pop in and whatever else. I can't get jiggy with that, man. At the end of the day, I feel like gaming is much better than that. We have the resources right now to do cloud gaming. We damn sure can do 60 FPS gaming at 720p or 1080p. I don't want to hear there's no excuse, man. Yeah,
I got you. I'm with you 1,000%, because here's my thing, man. Trying to get this. So as I explained earlier, let me know what your thoughts are on this. And look, I'm gonna keep this. I know we passed 2:30, but as long as my wife don't come see, my wife is watching TV.
Man, she just want to control until she comes up there with the frying pan. I mean? Keep it going.
Hey, yo, when you hear a starboard, bro, and the mic just go, you just pray for your boy.
I heard her in action before, so I know how she gets down.
Hey, yo, so my thing is, Storm, is that when I hear a lot of people try to surmise where we're coming from, I think they inadvertently do it wrong. I don't think they do it on purpose this way, but they do it wrong inadvertently. Well, in most cases, I saw a case where we were considered criers, and I think that's solid. But I know there's cases where people think that we're saying playing at 30 frames per second is trash. And no, our argument is, where I go back to game options, adjusting your contract. Like, Storm, you just got a killer 8K TV that you probably had to calibrate, and now you want to calibrate your game settings, your in-game settings, or your console settings, or whatever setting to match so you can get the crispiest view. Can you imagine?
Every day. I do it every day.
Imagine if you go in there, bro, and you can't change no settings. You're stuck with default settings, right?
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that makes the experience trash. Doesn't make the necessarily console trash, because the console, those default settings might be dope for somebody else, but people like us, people that are pillars of the community, we need those options. We need them for a variety of reasons. The homie Brandon earlier said there are people that just can't, for physical reasons, they just cannot game at 30 frames per second anymore. I'm one of them, except for there's something special going on with, for some reason, PlayStation games. I don't know what it is. I can play PlayStation first party games at 30 frames per second. I can't play nothing else at 30 frames per second. I don't know what magic sauce they got going, but whatever.
And, you know what? That's funny that you mentioned that, because I thought of that as well. And that's why I was able to enjoy. Listen, man.
Yep.
I could see in games like Ghost of Tsushima, when they were running all those games that were the God of War, anything that was running at 30, Horizon Zero Dawn, you can see 30 FPS performance. But you're right, when you're playing it, it's like a more polished, it's like a more locked 30, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. So the argument is not that gaming at 30 frames per second is trash, it's the lack of the options. It would be like not being, like if the axis was inverted. You know what I'm saying? Let's just say if it was inverted and you didn't have the option to change it. That experience is trash. This is 2021 we talking about. That option needs to be in there. So our thing is that if any other platform was getting options to where fundamental things were missing out of it, you would hope that the platform holders would say, hey, look, we let you guys develop what you want to develop, but what can we do to, you know what can we do to influence you to add these things in there, because they become like fundamental for our gamers. Let me give you an example. I'm gonna say it right for the sake of my bro Stadia Rev, because he did a hell of a show today. Valhalla, right? Remember when Valhalla was gonna be 30 frames per second? Remember it was gonna be 4K 30?
Yep.
And then the community was in the uproar?
Yes, sir.
And then what happened? We know that the platform holders went back to Ubisoft and said, yo, all right, maybe not native, but we gotta have a 4K 60 mode. And then they got 4K 60 on the next gen hardware, right?
Yeah. And it could have been the intent to bring it at a later time anyway, but man, we need clarification. We need communication. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what all of this is about right here. That's what all of this is about, bro.
You're right. Because the question is did you backslide? You know what I'm saying? From 4K, or not 4K 60. Did you backslide from a 60 frames per second standard? Or is this just a coincidence? You know what I mean? I think that's what people are concerned about. Because if we're saying, if you are like, well, 60 frames per second, and we really don't appreciate, we really don't really think that's a severe thing to have. If you are backing away from that people need to know that. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
absolutely.
Yo, you got a lot of listeners, man. So if they hit that request button, will they be able to get up in here? Because I see my brother, man. I see some good peoples up in here. You know?
Yes, that's what I tell them. They're afraid. They think we go. And look, here's the thing: if you don't agree, that's fine. I'm not going to rebut you. Like LeVar came in here, he shut me down. He said, "But Mars, Darksiders 2." When they made the enhanced version, it was only 4K 30. You heard me. I just shut up, right?
Yep, I heard
that. So this
ain't
about us being right and you being wrong. This is about us taking the community's voice and putting it out there for the public so Stadia and everybody else can hear. So if you got an opposing view, come on in here, man. We're going to let you speak however you feel. You know what I'm saying? So like Storm said, hit that button, man. Hit that button, definitely.
Hey. I tell you what though, one thing I did discover, this is something interesting to bring up real quick too, because during the stream today, I just got this bell went off like, yo, try Darksiders 2 with mouse and keyboard, and it does mask the issue of 30 FPS, right?
Okay.
Because you can't, it's so twitchy. Everything with the mouse becomes twitchy, so you can just, throw that mouse around and you can't really focus on the 30. But what about all those people who cannot game with mouse and keyboard? What about the people who it's just something that they don't care for, you know? So we can't be forcing people to do stuff like that. And then some games just are janky no matter what you use, no matter what you use. So I just want to see a little bit more across the board, not just a Stadia thing. because it was that way on Xbox. Even my Series X, man, that was advertised as the world's most powerful console, whether people want to believe it or not, whether they want to omit that and forget about it. I bought mine with that on that premise, man, that it was going to be the most powerful console in the world. And in a lot of ways it is, MM2K, from what I've been playing now. I don't own the PS5, y'all. So PS5 gamers, correct me. You know what I mean? But man, the 120 hertz gaming that I do on this Series X, man, if it gets better than that, I need to try it on PS5. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So, man, it's just a big move, though, but we shouldn't be to the point, MM2K, where we should be even asking for this stuff. Like, we should not be begging for 60 FPS. It should be standard by now with all these teraflops and CPU power and stuff, MM.
Yeah.
Like, you can get 60 FPS with the cell processor. You know what I mean? The cell processor probably can do 4K 60 right now, man. And that's how many generations ago.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. That's all I'm saying, bro.
Yeah, I get you. So again, it's not to beat down the platform. As soon as I get done with my wife, guess what I'm hopping on? I'm hopping on Stadia. You know what I mean? I'm gonna be grinding it out. And again, a reminder to all those that want to be part of the Old Dirty Blasters clan. That's our clan for Division 2. It's going to soon be a clan for Destiny 2 and other games that have Stadia crossplay. Please make sure that you are friending me on Stadia. I am at MM2K Stadia, so I can add you to the clan. If you're already part of a clan, you have to leave that clan in order for me to add you to this clan. But we're going to make it worth your while because we're going to be grinding out some Division 2. All right. But with that said, I'm going to be on Stadia. So this is not a Death to Stadia type thing. This is a look. If you guys, because I know how this works, Storm. I'm gonna keep it real with you. Here goes my deep-rooted concern. I know how this works. And I'm not gonna say this is what happens. This is what's going on 100% because I don't know. But you and I have good track records in prejudging this stuff and coming out on the right end of this, right?
Yeah.
So with my Fortune 500 experience, here's what I think is going on. And again, I don't have proof to this, but these are just my gut feelings. Stadia's looking at data. They're looking at data, and they're probably looking at the fact that most of their player base is gaming at 4K 30 or at some 30 frames per second mode. And they're saying to themselves, our data proves that 30 FPS is the way that people are playing the most. And they're looking at the fact, Storm, that they need to get games over. You know what I mean? They're looking at that. They're looking at that argument. LeVon was just on here talking about it. So they're looking at the fact that they might have to get games over. So I think they're taking those casual approaches, and they're saying, oh, you know what? Maybe 60 frames per second isn't that important. Let's go to our devs, or if our devs drop off something, maybe they're not going to them, but if our devs drop off something that falls that short, we're not going to provide much pushback. And I'm here to tell you that it's an industry term. That data that you're looking at, if that is the case, if my hunch is right, it's an outlier. Because I think what's happening is people want 4K. You know, like Storm, you want 4K.
I need 4K. Let's get that right. On an 82-inch screen, I need 4K. You got to see it to understand, you know?
Yeah. And I think people are tolerating it right now because people love the platform. They're tolerating it right now. But I wouldn't take it for golden that they're accepting of 30 frames per second because again, they're just tolerating it right now because like we say, they understand that the platform is young. And secondly, the tech enthusiasts, like if Stadia pulls back from the 60 frames per second standard too much, the uproar from the tech enthusiasts, regardless if we're a minority or not, I think will be too cumbersome in the long run. Again, doesn't mean that the platform is dead or anything like that, but I think it'll be too disruptive. So if my hunch is right, my message would be that is junk data, ignore it. 60 frames per performance mode is necessary. Deploy it where you can. Look, get Q-Lock. Hey, look, man, if I had buying power or say at Stadia, regardless of the fact that Stadia got rid of SG&E, I would have bought Q-Lock.
Yeah, hey, just to cut you off real quick, we got a request now. I just want to let you know.
Yeah, we gotta be. Oh yeah. All right, let's do it. Hold on, who we got here? We got my bro Geek the Sneak. Let's get him in here.
Let's get it.
Yo, Geek. Can you hear us, brother?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, we hear
What's
you.
going on, man? How you been, man?
All right. I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on, fellas.
Awesome stuff, brother. Thank you so much for your continued support, man. We love it. We can't do this without y'all support, man. Geek, what's your thoughts on all this, man?
Man, we should definitely have 4K 60 FPS. Like, I don't even feel like it should be a discussion.
Oh, man.
I'm not even going to lie. Like, with the Darksiders, too, I was highly disappointed because I've been waiting to play that game, but I didn't want to buy it again because I had it back in the day.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to just wait until I found a deal somewhere, and then I found out it was coming to Stadia, so I'm like, yes. Now I can play it at 60 FPS? No.
Nah, Geek. Hey, Geek, and guess what, brother? We're just alike on that front. This is why we got to have voices, man. It's cool to see y'all in the chat, but when we get these voices on here, we can have real human being conversations. Geek, man, you just like me when it comes to that 4K 60 stuff because I was waiting on the game too. I said it on multiple shows already. So when I saw that 30 FPS, I'm like, I gotta pass on this one because it's not fair. It's not fair to Far Cry 5 and Assassin's Creed Valhalla and all those games that I skipped that on Stadia because I don't have that 60 FPS option. But I tell you what, I do have that 60 FPS option on: Ghost Recon, Wildlands, and so many other games, Doom Eternal, and so many more, man. Even Control. So I'm like, it just needs to be more uniform, bro.
For sure. I agree.
Yeah, man. I mean, are you concerned, Geek, that this might become a trend, or you think it's just a coincidence? What are your thoughts on all this?
I feel like somebody pushed the button when they shouldn't have.
Okay. Good point. Good point. That's a great point.
I don't know, man, because, I mean, they're constantly giving us 60 frames per second, so content with 60 frames per second. So I don't understand why all of a sudden they thought it was just okay to give us this one game with 30 frames per second. I was just like, come on, guys, really?
Yeah.
That's what we doing?
Yep. That's yo, Storm and Geek, this is my thing, bro. Like, I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I'm not mad about a game here and there having 30. Like, I'm gonna say this, like when me and Storm was playing Serious Sam, I don't know if y'all remember that, and me and Storm was like, you know what, we can't go with this game. It was okay. We just moved to something else. The thing that's really getting to me is that your two premier games on Stadia Pro, both of them is 30 frames per second. That's like boing. You know what I'm saying? That's just like raise a red flag for me. Did it do the same for you, Geek?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Geek, it comes down to it. It's almost when people start Levon. Hey man, Levon got to come back on here, man. Yo, when he said 10.7 teraflops, this is stuff that we talk about all the time, MM2K, and some people might tune out. Like, here we go again, tech talk, I'm out. But then some people might stay. They might stick around because they understand how we feel, bro. And you know, at the end of the day, at the end of the day, if you're putting those numbers up there, and that was no mistake on Stadia's part, if you ask me, because you want to speak to Geek the Sneak and Project Storm and MM2K and MJ Parks and whoever else that loves this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Which is a lot of people. As Nintendo just found out the hard way, you know what I mean? You can't continue to handcuff people, so to speak, and spoon feed them what you think they need, you know? So, man, I'm just saying now, MM, you brought up some points earlier before Geek got in, and you were talking about, you know, whatever you covered. But I'm thinking about now, instead of Stadia looking at that data, they've shown us what the platform is capable of. They're talking like things like negative latency that we already can experience. And if I'm not experiencing that right now, my mind is going to be blown when they really unleash that negative latency. But they got stuff in place already when it comes to this tech. They have to be looking at 120 hertz because the competition is doing that. It's that simple, bro. Your competition, if you want to call them that, is doing 120 hertz gaming already. Yeah, it's time to step that up a little bit, man.
I'm ready to see 120 on that platform right there.
Yeah. Even if it's at
That'd be
1080p,
so
I would
sick.
jump for joy if it's 1080p 120.
Yeah. That was. Oh man. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me do something, y'all, because it's getting interrupted. Hold on. Jesus. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. If that came through, that was the war general. The war general was calling me, so that's my cue that I got to grab my Legos and I got to get out of here.
Nah,
So,
I didn't even hear it.
but with that said, hey, yo, Storm, it sounds like we might have to take the white van, grab up Ron Slusher and grab up Geek as well, man. You know what I'm saying?
Look, man, I'm with it. You know what I mean?
Definitely. But no, this was a hell of a discussion, man. Hey, Storm, thank you for jumping in. Geek, thank you for coming in with spreading the math. We appreciate it. Hey, look, y'all.
Thank you for having me on, guys.
Definitely. Look, I mean, we're going to be doing this regularly. Thank you all on YouTube for watching as well. And next time, if y'all want to chime in, man, just hit that super chat button. Even for $2, just ask a question. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to use this platform to help give prizes out for those